All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 14th, November 15th, 14th, 15th, one of those two. I know it's been a little while and everything since I've done a video or I've done any pictures or posts, but since we're getting closer and everything to D-Day and finalization on the vehicle that we've been working on for quite a few weeks, a little bit longer and everything than expected, but kind of something and everything you got to go through whenever you're going behind and everything, somebody else's stuff. Some flaws and everything that were in there, quite a bit of dangers, and safety precautions and everything, and measures and everything were taken. Now, but of course, as everybody knows, not really that always easy and everything to work on a vehicle or build a race car and stuff like that, or going after something else that's already been worked, where you have to basically you're finding one thing after another. I mean, it's a little bit difficult, I won't lie. In the beginning and everything, I had an idea of what I was basically doing, but same time too, customer and everything decided we wanted to add and everything a few other things, which is perfectly okay. So, but in the midst of adding what needs to go into it, I do need to play a little bit of catch up, and so. As many of you know and everything, I'm Misha with Mish Motorsports, or Misha's Motorsports. You can find me and everything on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can Google me and everything on the web as well. Also find me here on YouTube. So please feel free and everything after the video and everything to like, share, subscribe, follow and everything, leave comments and everything, stuff like that. I'd like to know and everything your feedback on how everything is. As many of you know and everything, I have been doing this and everything for about now going on 10 plus years. I have just received my engineering degree and certifications on top of other automotive certifications that I've already carried and everything before in the past. So it's just building up more of the knowledge, more of the skill and everything, and the know-how and everything, and setting things more into stone and everything, but also having that piece of paper and everything, that really actually goes a long way and everything in this world. So, but I'm in hopes and everything of trying to design and everything something a bit new. So, well, without further ado, I know many of you are probably excited and everything to see the car, much less and everything my face over here in this ugly schmuck. Anyway, we do have another project and everything here that we've actually been working on as well too, but we'll get to that all later. So, vehicle came in. It is equipped with an LS60. It's turboed on a BorgWarner S366 turbo. Unfortunately, of course, many of you know and everything, you pick it up right away. The turbo is a bit small and everything and undersized for the engine itself. So he is going to sit there and move up a little bit later. But for now and everything, that's what the tune and stuff is set on and everything, which is fine. So good thing about it, though, is he's got good boost control and everything out of it. Turbo and everything small, spool up quick, it'll be there, he'll have his control. So what we had to do is we had to go in and take care of quite a bit of wiring bits. We had to take care and everything of some dangers with the battery cables. We had to take care of starter solenoid signal, a few things and everything that weren't relayed properly, improper wire gauge sizing, and types of wire and everything as well too. A couple of gauges and everything that we had to switch out. Some components and everything and sensors and gauges weren't functioning properly because either of bad connection and everything on crimping, missed wiring and everything too as well. Oh, excuse me and everything. I think I got something outside of my garage. There's something moving around over there, but probably overnight. Yeah, I think we got something in our garage, so we'll take a look at it later. But anyway, that as well. And then in the very beginning, this actually is the same vehicle where we started on the mounting the radiator and the radiator fan shroud assembly and everything off the Lexus GS300 to the Toyota Supra and everything style Mishimoto and everything race radiator. So we got that all taken care of, all wired up. At the same time, second part that came through and everything was a fan assembly and everything with a G Plus oil cooler. So that way we can have a cooler and everything onto it as well, because his engine definitely and everything will produce some heat. Cast iron block and everything, not in aluminum as well too. But cast iron's always better. Although we have to account and everything for weight. But surprisingly, I was actually kind of impressed and everything from jacking up the front end of the vehicle, having to deal with the battery cables. It's really not as heavy as I thought it would be. Well, we're going to go ahead and go through this. See if I can get a camera flip here. Okay. So, here we have And this vehicle and everything, if some of you know or don't know, this vehicle right here belongs to a good man and everything. His name is Carlos Santos. Met the guy and everything. He contacted me and everything, just to kind of see and everything what I could do and stuff like that, and come by and come help him out because he had some issues with his crankshaft position sensor. Actually, it broke off inside of the timing cover. So when we first met, we went over and everything, helped him out, got it all taken care of. We had to pull the timing cover, of course, and everything, man, to kind of pop it out. But working together and everything, we were able to get it all taken care of and get him back running. Another major thing was he was having a power steering leak as well. A few other bits and everything, you know, like battery cables and everything weren't used properly. There were some speaker cables and everything that were in place for grounds or for power and stuff like that, improper, you know, cable wiring and stuff like that. But these are main things that you guys got to pay attention to whenever it comes down to doing electrical, because electrical and everything is one of the biggest fire hazards that you're going to have to deal with on and off the track whenever you're building a vehicle. You don't want to have something that's going to start a fire and everything, or that could carry too much current or improper voltage or anything like that, because then, you know, if you can't get to it and everything, pretty much everything that you did and everything would be, you know, for nothing. You'd rather have, if there is an event of a fire, you would rather have it be under good terms. Actually, I'm already losing battery voltage here. A second here, hook up my handy dandy charger at the moment. I'm gonna have to do a walk around. Okay. Good old extension cord. Get you all hooked up because I'm already at 10% from 50. So it's safe to say we're going to need us a battery. So what we'll do is get this extension cord all worked out and we'll walk around and everything with it. Okay, so let's start off on the front, shall we? So, well, we had to go ahead and get all of our lights working. We got all of our indicators and everything working and everything on here. We got our headlights wired up and working. Everything's ran on 12 gauge wire. I like using 12 gauge and everything a whole lot more, but of course, everybody needs to understand too and everything that there is a mathematical aspect when it comes down to doing electrical. You need to know your components first, and then you also have to be able to figure out what math you need to know for what wire gauging and from placement of depending on where you got it. So here we have our battery. Of course, you know, we got a kill switch and everything sitting right here behind the dashboard. We'll get more into that as we go. And then we have components to the back, we have components to the front, and we have components side to side. So the best choice and everything would be just to use the 12 gauge wire and everything. Can't really go wrong with it. At the same time too and everything, more larger wire gauge size and everything, yes, definitely, and everything can be better, but you got to be careful and everything as well too, because a larger wire gauge size and everything means that you can carry more current, but at the same time it could deliver that amount of current. So you wouldn't want to have too much going through and everything, because you might fry something. So know your components, know your wattages, know your voltages, know your current capacities, all that, so that way you can actually do your math properly. That way you do everything good. Plenty of relays and everything as well too for other components and everything that have a heavy current draw, because you don't want to steal too much and everything from the battery. So as many of you know, of course, fans, you know, what else? Relays and everything for your fuel pumps, you know, relays and everything for, you know, your board, for any of your gauges and stuff like that. So, and fuse sizing and everything is another major one. So we're going to start all the way down here on the very end. So in here and everything, we went ahead, and this is a complete hardwire and everything on this entire vehicle. So start from scratch on everything. Turn signal and everything is not even the original turn signal. It's just a three-way switch, on, off, on. Wiper motors and everything the same way. We've got that all wired up as well too, high, low and everything, on, off, on, three-way switch. So we have here and everything, we have our side turn signals and everything on the front. They do our work and function. We have the headlights and everything. They're all wired up, ready to go. Got everything loomed and everything real nice and everything with 12 gauge wire. Thankfully to our customer and everything, he went ahead and provided us with the proper supplies and everything that we needed to get things done. We still got a few other things we're working on here, like I got to make a heat shield and everything for this lower radiator hose. It is a little close, but then again as well too, I do feel like this bracket right here for the radiator with the location and all this actual amount of room right here, this can come back much further, which is actually where I had it placed when I was running all of my wiring and getting everything fitted. So I will make that suggestion and everything later, but at the same time the vehicle's been here for quite some time and everything, so I got to kind of get this out of here and everything so that way I can get moving forward. So at the same time too, brackets and everything, they're a little high up, but then again the radiator was definitely brought down real really should not have been, because now our upper radiator neck going into the motor and everything sits up higher and everything than where the actual radiator sits. And as most of you know and everything, gravity of flow, everything has to travel down. So this part needs to be sitting up higher than this part right back here. That's also, go ahead and we'll go into this. This will be something that will get changed later. Try not to use too big of a coupler and everything, people, because, you know, you have issues and everything with collapsing and everything under pressure. So, and we come back, we follow all the way through here. Apologies and everything for the wire color. I would have rather have used yellow and everything for certain indicators, but to make things easier and everything and a little bit more cost effective, understood that white and everything for light, black for ground, and we used blue mainly and everything, this specific kind of a blue and everything wire for our, you know, indicators and everything, and for signal. That's basically what this stands for. So probably what I'll do is I'll get some colored electric tape, and we'll wrap the ends and everything in certain areas and everything. That way people will have a better, you know, idea and know-how and everything of where everything is going. Excuse the automatic transmission fluid down low and everything. We've got a power steering leak that we've been trying to get taken care of, which we're actually getting taken care of today. Located the right fittings, so that's on the way at the moment. But then again, from reviews, the owner stated to us that the tuner didn't have any issues and everything with it. It was when he had changed out his rack and pinion and hooked everything back up, he had the leak. But so we'll take care of all that and everything later. So we got that, and so come down here. We have our oil cooler fan and everything right here mounted to the back as a puller. Always want to make sure and everything to have your puller. Try not to have anything as a pusher and everything on any of your cooling parts and everything, because sometimes and everything that can act and everything as a block, unless you have, you know, good shrouding and everything, man, a good fan and everything. It definitely pumps out plenty of CFM and everything to keep it cool, to compensate. And so I had a few other things we had to deal with back down here as well at the same time, and this is where that one thing after another part comes in. So with this, we had to make a little bit of room because we were getting too close and everything to our intercooler pipe, and we don't want to bash it too much. Plus, at the same time, this is a plastic housing fan. And then coming back up through here with our intercooler piping, we'll notice some tear lines and everything in the coupler. So this coupler and everything probably at some point will have to be replaced. But the whole mounting hole on here and everything was actually quite jagged edged. It was a little tight. You don't want to have something like that. You want to make sure and everything to have plenty of space wherever you're running certain couplers and stuff like that that actually will create some motion and everything, especially under torque twist and everything too from the motor. So, and always remember, clean up your edges, take the burrs out, do not leave them jagged, because people and everything can get sliced open. And I know it's a quick job, you're trying to get stuff done and everything, man, but you know, there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. So we just made some necessary corrections and everything to this vehicle is pretty much where we're going through. So we got that off of here and everything on our cold side. Cold side's good. We had to take some piping out, take some measurements, opening everything out. Give us plenty of room to the sides. And as you may have noticed and everything, I have been rubbing my finger right across the edge just to kind of give you guys an idea. Like, I'm not getting sliced. I am not getting sliced open. That's how it should be. You should make sure that's all nice and smooth. Hit it with some sandpaper after you get done, yada yada, whatever. Take it all in consideration. And so back off over here, though, we did have to take some, you know, fuel line hose and stuff like that, split it open, wrap it around the edges. It's a real easy way and everything to save you guys some costs and stuff like that. If anybody's trying to look for, you know, ways to protect the edges and everything of your couplers and your piping and wiring and stuff like that. Nothing different and everything from a piece of wire loom. Just take a hose, slice it down the center, wrap it around where you got it and everything on your edge, so that way nothing happens. All right, so going back even further, so we have our fan and everything assembly, which actually before, if some of you have seen the video and everything that we had, we did a test display and everything over on the work table. This is still the same one over here. Still not too happy with the placement on this fuse, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the zip tie, I'm going to turn it sideways and everything, like I got this one over here, nice and flush. Looks good, nothing moves, nothing goes anywhere, gets the job done, and then I'll push this down back over here so that way it disappears. Got our grounds. Biggest thing always to remember too and everything, heat shrink. Heat shrink, heat shrink, heat shrink, heat shrink. If you guys and everything are going to sit there and want to pass tech inspection, my best bet and everything is do basically and everything what I do. Get yourself a pro rule book every year and go off of it. If you're doing grassroots, if you're doing pro-am, if you're doing whatever. You can never sit there and go wrong and everything with taking the pro rule book and everything. It's always better safe than sorry. But at the end of the day and everything, it's good practice because you will know and everything, the pro material and everything, until you get there to the top. Because no matter what, that is what you know, and that is how you will always assemble and put everything together. So we went ahead and we borrowed some power and everything from certain components and everything, starting from the inside of the vehicle, working our way back up onto the inside. Coming back into here, and we do have all of our wiring for our lights, because of course we have our second set of headlights and everything, and their connectors right up in here. We did have to do some de-pinning and everything and repair on some of the connectors because the wires cut too short. Not a problem. Went ahead and took care of that, soldered those into place, got those heat shrunk and ran. Plenty of ground wires and everything. Basically have us a ground block down here at the bottom, one spot and everything for all of our grounds and everything here that are nearby. Always want to keep your grounds and everything the shortest distance as possible, shortest distance to ground. So the closer you are and everything, the better you are, but at the same time, make sure you have plenty of grounding. We needed to go ahead and change out our battery cables as well too, as this and everything's a proper battery cable I actually had that was already made. Some extra stuff I had left over worked out perfectly. I had to go ahead and change that out. Show you guys and everything what the old one looked like. This is not the old ground, but this is the same thing that it was being used toward. This is speaker cable. This is amp power wire. You do not use this for battery current continuity. You do not want to use this. This is not strong enough, very flimsy, it's bendable. And also it's the type of strands and everything that's used inside of the cable. One, not copper. Two, very, very thin and everything, very flexible. So, moving on. Okay, so we got that all taken care of. Also, we had some, got this wonderful DEI and everything, titanium heat loom wrap and everything that's all over the car. Makes everything look so amazing and pretty. Love this stuff and everything. Why? Because this right here doesn't sit there and flake out too much fiberglass kitty here at the same time. People also got to understand and everything that this right here is not just titanium and everything that's woven into it. This is a part on part. Same thing goes on everything for other kinds and everything of, other kinds of fiberglass and composite materials as well too that I've actually physically seen and used. There's an aluminized one that they have, which is actually a half and half and everything as well. You got aluminum weaves and then you got fiberglass weaves. So, but putting it all together, so we got that all ran over here. There was a clamp that was sitting right here that was holding it to the side. Really don't need that and everything. These are heat protective looms. This is what this is for. And at the same time, this is also for power steering. So, you know, it's got a hard line right here, which is great. I love that he did that and everything. Very smart, especially when you're dealing with heat. But loom it, of course, 2 rubber hoses, top, bottom, and it stays in this one spot right here, but at the same time, it's not going to flex and everything under heavy amounts of pressure. But my main concern is the engine and everything twisting and everything under pressure. So I'd rather this not be bolted down so it doesn't stay in one spot and get crushed. So depending on how, you know, the chassis, the motor's wanting to twist and everything, but I've already inspected the motor mounts on him. We're going to need to get stiffer, he's going to need to get some stiffer motor mounts, most definitely, with this kit that he's got. Sorry and everything for all the heavy wording, but like I said, this is a lot and everything for me to go through, so I'm trying to explain to you guys the best I possibly can. Okay, so we had some other wiring coming through here that we had to go ahead and take care of. Down low, we've got the oil pressure switch and everything. I went ahead and took that wire out. It was actually a red wire, so we changed that to a color and everything. We went with brown. Brown can mean and everything for quite a few different things. If most of you know German vehicles and everything, they use brown for ground. Get it? Brown for ground. So in my case and everything, I would like to use brown and everything for oil, color of oil, brown oil. Blue, of course, many of you probably know and everything. Blue for water. So these are your coolant temperature sensor, and this right here is your oil pressure switch. Now remember, when I was doing the lights and the signal indicator, I specified what color blue and everything that we were basically using. So with them next to each other, this is that 12 gauge blue that we're using. And as you can tell, these two and everything specifically are for our turn signals. And this one right here and everything is for water. So that's okay and everything. But then again, like I said, we were trying to save on some cost here and everything for him because man has put a good bit of money and everything into the chassis, and we're not trying to sit there and kill anybody and everything at the same time. Just trying to get you going. You can make better corrections and everything as you go later on in the long run. But the biggest thing is just getting it down packed right first. Get tech inspection taken care of, know that you're all good to go, everything's tight, everything's loomed, everything's fastened, everything's covered up, everything's electrically sound and stable, no fires, and that's where we basically had to start with that. So, that's okay. The only other thing I wasn't too keen on was the design on some of the other stuff and everything that was on here. Like, for instance, I didn't like where the alternator was placed. But that's okay and everything. That's where it goes and everything for the swap mount, for the swap bracket and conversion bracket for everything that goes with it, especially even for, looks like for power steering as well too, to go into this chassis. We had to put our manifold and stuff all back on. It was sitting in the back of the car. customer and everything left it off for us and everything, so that way we could have some access to power steering, which it was fine. I went ahead and put it back on and everything though, because really I was going to need it just for the bottom, which was okay, and also a little bit of access room and everything from the alternator. But yep, everything marked. Of course, everybody always remember mark and everything indicates torque to spec. And come back up here to the top. Everything that I touch, I don't care what it is. If I loosen it and I tighten it and everything, it's going to get marked. That's how you know and everything, man, that you guarantee that it was fastened back the way it was. So even your V-band, B-band, flange clamps, hose clamps, worms clamps, and everything. See, got one paint mark right here, one here, ground cable and everything for here. Up to the top, that's marked and everything as well too. We go further down, clamps and everything even go into the couplers. Clamps go into the couplers. Clamps and everything go into the couplers. Everything gets marked and everything to know what was actually touched and done. So we do a little backtrack. We come back through here. We've got our 2 relays. These 3 fans are all wired off the same switch, but 3 separate relays that borrow power and everything, you know, from each other and everything for the battery just to turn them on. But everything has its own battery power, which is good for delivery. So we've got one 30 amp 12 volt here, another one over here. Runs up here and everything off this, back through here, everybody, all right? And weather strip and everything connectors as well too. Mind the zip ties, sorry everyone and everything. We're, like I said, we're working with cost. Luckily the customer and everything had quite a bit of supplies and everything in the trunk, so we're really good to go. We had wire, we had zip ties, we had some electrical tape and everything, and a plethora and everything of connectors, which was definitely used, but not as much and everything as we love soldering. But soldering and everything is used for certain things, and crimping is used for another thing. Soldering, you got to remember, and everything becomes hard and everything, so you don't want to have it anywhere where there's going to create too much shock, because it can cause the solder to crack. So sometimes crimping and everything is really what you kind of do have to use. You really don't have much of a choice and everything on it. So or there's certain ways and everything that you can properly twist wrap wires together and everything per ISO specification, to where you don't have to use either of them, but it will still sit there and create good continuity and everything, and you shield and loom that up. And we'll get into something like that probably later. Now, okay, we're gonna work our way back up over here. Actually, no, I got a better idea. We'll go down the driver's side, and then we'll work our way back on through. So we had to get all of our wiring and everything hooked up. Also from our wiper motor, here's our wiper harness. We went ahead and shrunk it down just a little bit, give it a little bit of loom curve and everything. That way we can keep a little bit out of it as well too. And if you wanted to sit there and hook it up for intermittent control and stuff like that. So, and then we come back through here, wiring harness port actually that goes straight through the side of the inner fender skin underneath in the bay. Coming back down underneath the fender. Some of you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we can. Oh, there we go. All right, so we have our wiring harness and everything coming back through here, being fed back through and everything, the wiring harness mounting hole that's right there. And actually, I think I can make a cover plate for this opening, because if I'm not mistaken, I think I found mounting holes, 2 mounting holes, one on top, one on bottom. It's where I can actually put a plate, and I can drill a hole, and I can put a wiring harness, grommet, and everything straight through it. So that'll be another hole that's closed off. We went ahead and we took care of it over there on the other side, which we'll get to that one later, which I was ecstatic about. That's what's making me more and more and everything excited about this chassis. Just a lot of things and everything are a lot more convenient to fabricate and customize and everything on. So, working our way back on down. Okay, now come back in here. Mind all the wiring loom, everyone. I kept all the wiring loom, or most of the wiring loom, off, so that way I can do this video, because I want to take plenty of before and after pictures to show everyone where this thing started and what all I have done, so you can see and everything what it really takes and what kind of work and everything I've got. So we start over here. We've got our speedometer. I believe it's right here on this one. I think that's the speedometer. Nope, 2 seconds, I think. Nope, that's a voltmeter. That was one of the gauges, and apparently from the customer we were told and everything it wasn't working. After I went ahead and I did all my wiring, I turned it on, I took a look. Voltmeter was actually working at the moment. Kill switch and everything is off, so we'll get to that stuff all later. So we went ahead and strapped up, so that way we can go ahead and indicate where we want to run all of our wires. I went ahead and I put some eyelid loom holders and everything, and mounted those exactly where I wanted to run my wires. So every piece of wire that I fed and everything, I fed them straight through, so that way I had one long chain of line. Occasionally I took zip ties to hold things into place and everything just until I got it there. Either cut the zip tie, open them up and everything, and then replacing everything with electrical tape whenever you're done. Do not use zip ties to hold wires together. The problem with that is zip ties and everything, they put so much pressure force and everything on the insulation, it can pinch the wire. That's why you want to use electrical tape. At the same time, too, people need to understand how to properly use electrical tape. You do not stretch electrical tape. You wrap tape. So unroll it, pull it out. If it stretches, set it down, let it sit there and relax and everything, and contract back to where it originally was. Cut it, and do not pull the tape. If anything, you just press it and everything and just follow it around. Just follow the tape around. Follow the tape around. Let it lay on top and everything. That's how you want to use electrical tape properly, because then if you stretch it, eventually it'll try and pull away, adhesive and everything will let go, and then the tape starts unraveling and opening up. Lay it down. All right, moving on. So here, we went ahead and we actually had, this right here was actually our fuel level gauge. Unfortunately, the gauge ohm range was actually out of range to communicate with the sending unit that's actually in the back, which is actually a GM 0 to 90 ohm. This one, come to find out, I couldn't find any part numbers on it, had to do a bunch of research, and I found out that it was a slightly mid ohm and everything to a high ohm. I think it was 33 to 240 ohm. So any kind of way I sat there and I hooked up any of my wiring and I grounded the sending unit, it went straight full, straight full, straight full. I even put resistors in it and everything. I even tried to back everything down so that way I try and get close enough to it. Way too much and everything, too much and everything in line. So better off just to get the right proper gauge. So we'll get that one later. Keep all of our wires and everything, indicators and stuff like that all set up for lights, power, ground, signal. So that'll all stay here, all labeled and everything, so that when the time comes, we'll just drop it right on in there and be all good to go. I wanted to have this vehicle and everything as much real as I could, because the customer wanted to indicate how he wanted to still be able to drive it on the street, you know, using his flashers, using his wipers. So in a normal vehicle, turn signals and everything on the left. Of course, you don't have any turn indicators because we were fully caged and everything with a race style and everything steering column. Turn signal indicator off the left hand, wipers and everything off the right hand. So with this and everything, we have our turn signal relay, flasher relay. Okay, we got power and everything being fed into it, red power, black ground. Indicated blue indicator to the flasher and everything, and of course and everything left for left, right for right. And we'll get to all the lighting and stuff like that so you guys can sit there and see like all the tests. This is going to be a really long video, so I do apologize if anybody starts getting bored, but this is what it takes for you to understand what really actually all went into this. Nameless Performance Hydro Brake, awesome. Mounting and everything that was for it, not so awesome. We went ahead and rip that sucker off real quick. This is what originally was on here for the hydro brake mounting. As you can see, this is probably about a 16, this is probably 16 gauge sheet metal, even if that and everything too. Yeah, I'd say 16 gauge. Still with that, too flimsy. This is not something you want to use in everything for mounting brackets. Whenever you want to sit there and do anything for mounting, you always want to use at least a minimum of 1/8 inch. Up to a 1/4 of an inch. I would actually go with a 1/4 inch, and everything for anything mounting is a whole lot stronger. Most of your bash bars and stuff like that for your frames and whatnot are all made out of 1/4 of an inch, because you don't want this stuff to move. You want it to be nice and sturdy and solid, unless it comes down to other things. Now, I think right here for our center 5-point harness and everything mounting, that was already initially welded into this chassis and everything, because this chassis was already caged beforehand. Further information found out, and it was only drag race, so that was the good thing and everything about it. Then again, I noticed in everything there was some seams in there. There was every seam on the car and everything was not stitched well together, nothing. But that's for another note. But at least this is a drag car, you know, so that was the good thing about it. But once this car starts getting drifted and everything, man, especially being a 1996, who knows? It'll probably start twisting and stuff like that. But then again, after being able to further dive into how Toyota designs their vehicles, it's going to be a little difficult and everything to think that this vehicle is going to start separating, because they use some pretty heavy gauge and everything metal, and they do not skimp and everything on the layers. They do not skimp, I will tell you that right now. So that's part of, you know, weight added and everything when it comes down to Toyota and Lexus. Bunch of holes and everything that are open into the floorboard. quite a bit of holes and everything open into the floorboard, and we know all that and everything, man. You want to keep all those fumes and everything out of here, but we're not getting into that right away as of yet. We needed to take care of what other things we need to take care of, but just trying to focus in on that. So very first thing, I couldn't take it anymore when I was crawling around in here, so we had to sit there and get something fabricated up for this man and everything to where he had at least a sturdier mounting bracket. So we went ahead and we took some measurements. We got some 1/8 inch plate, and I still have to box this in and everything, man. This was just to give me the idea of where I needed it. So we got our 1/8 inch and everything plate cut out. I went ahead, welded it and everything to the side of the transmission tunnel. Took the flat part and everything right here for the top mounting plate, leveled it out, set the pitch and the angle and everything as well too. Come to find out as well from the other mounting bracket, the hydro brake was facing in, or not facing in, facing out, away from the driver, going towards the passenger. So we had to get that all kind of straightened out in line and everything, so that way when he came in with his pull and everything, it felt comfortable for him. So we got it more north to south and everything than anything else now for the pull. But then again, if he wants to sit there and make adjustment to it, we can. Also at the same time, let's see, I have to make our braces and everything to it, and we have our mounting hardware, which actually here 2 points and everything for it that come down. I made enough space and everything to the outside because I want to have 2 reinforcement brackets on the outside and 1 down the center. That way he still has access room and everything to get to the mounting nuts on the bottom. Unfortunately, I wanted to design this to where the nuts were welded to the bottom of the plate, but you can't, and because to be able to take this all out and take it all completely apart, you can get access to it, but it's going to take a while. You'd have to almost take this entire assembly completely apart just to get to the bolts. You can get to the bolts and everything with the right tools, but once again, it makes it a hassle. You start tearing things up. We're trying to keep things clean, quick, and taken care of. So we're going to actually unweld one of these. Actually, we already took care of. This one over here and everything I still got to do too, but I stopped because I was getting a little bit more in depth on other things than I should have. So we went ahead. We're going to go ahead and do that. So that way you just hold the nut, bolt from the top, tighten up the nut from the bottom, still accessing everything, plenty of room, and it'll be nice and reinforced and sturdy. It's already pretty reinforced as well as it is right now. Sneak peek. This is what it looks like on the dash, mind you, and everything. This is not going to be the permanent dash. Excuse some of these cables and everything. I've been fighting running these battery cables and everything throughout this vehicle for past few days. You got to understand and everything, man. This isn't starting from dead scratch. This is doing a rework. So when you're going behind somebody, if something's not done right, things can take time, and at the same time, there's always something that'll be found, one thing after another. You always got to expect it. That's just the name of the game. Always got to expect it. If you don't, you get lucky. You don't have to worry about other things. You get lucky. But always and everything, always hope for the best, prepare for the worst. All right, now as we go further down, come through Bunny Trail. We've got all of our lighting and everything wires coming through here. We've got starter signal and everything wires. We got our oil pressure switch, coolant temperature sensor. We have power. A lot of these power wires and everything are red, coming off of the relay board over here to help power and everything. The other relays and everything going to the other fans and everything up here onto the front. And so we have our speedometer, we've got of course the voltmeter, we got our turn signal switch, we have our flasher relay. Alright, moving it on back down. So we've got 3/4 inch wire loom, thanks to our good man and everything in as well too. We've got to take care of. This is something that I actually had to stop from. I'll go ahead and I'll show you this hack job that I did. Not too happy, but I got to get back in here. Everybody knows when cutting open a hole with a hole saw, you kind of can't do it again and everything the second time. So I took the hole saw, I went ahead and I traced it to the size of the new tachometer that's actually going to go in, and I took the hole saw to the top of it, just that way I can scratch it and everything, you know, the circle location and everything of what needs to be cut out. So I started cutting and everything with a pair of tin snips. The diamond plate sat there and twisted and bent, so I stopped. Got mad, we're going to back away from it. We're going to pull this out, cut it open and everything with a Dremel properly, taking everything, we're going to take burr tools and everything, we're going to shave everything down, open it up, and take a reamer, and get everything lined up the way it's supposed to be. Alright, moving on. This is our wiper motor switch. So we went ahead and designed it and everything for high-low. So down, right here, indicates and everything our low, and up indicates our high. The weird part about it is the harness from the factory has, this is the low. So it's red with a blue stripe. This is high. Blue with a red stripe. I was was confused about it, so I did it and everything that way, and then sure enough, I hooked it up. And the moment I hit switch up and everything, I got low wipers. The moment I hit switch and I got down, I got high wipers. So we went ahead and we just, unbolted the connectors and everything, flipped them around. Once again, heat shrink tubing on your connectors. Tech inspection and everything will always tell you and everything, you have to cover this. You do not want any copper showing. Then again, we have copper showing. So what do you do about stuff like this? Easiest way and everything you can take care of things like this, get some liquid electrical tape, paste it across the bottom, cover it up so that way you can't see it. But then again, you also got to remember and everything, you won't be able to have these as test points. Also, I wouldn't be too worried about having it as test points because just looking at the pins, they're so close to each other. I mean, spark arc and everything could happen so easily with just anything. A drop of water hits and drops right in between there and everything, you jump the connection and everything within seconds. But then again, race car, this should be completely sealed. There shouldn't be water coming in. But things do happen. Race car and everything, race car on the track. Moving on. Oh, gotta love Gohan. Good man right here. Dragon Ball lover. Don't we love it? And so, remember our indicators and everything for our sensors. Blue for the coolant, brown and everything for the oil. So this is our oil pressure switch gauge, and this right here is our coolant temperature sensor gauge. We don't have them hooked up right now at the moment. This nut I actually lost. It's probably like an M4 nut. I'm probably got to go just find another one, dig one out. Not going to be too much of an issue. Up here, this gauge is... innovative wideband. Okay, yep, this is our innovative wideband gauge that we have in here. Down low, this is for a vacuum boost gauge, which actually we have received and everything from our customer just the other day. Thanks to the wife for picking it up. Love you, everybody. As if anyone doesn't know, my wife, Vanessa Moreno, also head of Barino Photos. She just recently got her first actually not first photography job, second photography job, working her way on a third one. And so this will kind of give you some proof. This is probably why she's going to be a little upset and everything with me, because this is actually her job. She's supposed to be doing the filming, the editing, and the pictures, but we need to get this in here, and we need to get this done and everything as quick as we can, because it's been way too long since I've done any videos or any pictures. Some people might be anxious, some people might not. So, running on back through here and everything, dude. Red, blue, white, black. All right, we got all of our wires and everything all wrapped around together, actually properly loomed, because you'll see pictures. All of this looked like just a big ball of spaghetti. Wires just hanging all over the place, ran everywhere, improper wire gauge sizing and everything. Red wire going into a blue wire, going into some other color wires and stuff like that. So it was quite dangerous. But before we could even get started on anything, we had to clean this whole entire car out. There was metal shavings all over the place, and rust and dirt, and there was carpenter ants when the vehicle first got here. I had to bomb the vehicle before I can get it into the garage, and just name of the game and everything. You know, if you drop a vehicle off and everything to somebody, not saying anything bad about the customer, clean the vehicle out and everything beforehand. It makes the job easier. Try not to have a bunch of stuff in it, because your technician, whoever and everything, your fabricator, your customizer, your modifier, your builder, whoever's doing it is going to work on a clean slate. You keep it clean, it makes working and everything a lot easier. So, we got our kill switch. She's all mounted up. We got proper cabling and everything going on as well too. Got proper battery cables as well going on here too. Sorry, I saw a piece of electrical tape here I'm not too happy with. I'm going to rip that off and redo it. We need to get some positive terminal caps also for this kill switch, so that way we can protect it from anything. That's also part of tech inspection. If any of you know, remember that positive terminal needs to be covered. At the same time, this man's going to be needing to get himself a battery box, so that way he can go ahead and house this battery, and it has to be enclosed. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes and everything. Always top number one. And if you have ventilation ports for your battery, if it is an unsealed battery, please, please, please vent that sucker outside of the vehicle. You do not need to be breathing in these fumes. All right, going back in, we had to add in a fuse panel. So we went ahead and we took the simple ones you get at the auto parts store and everything, the 5 fuse box. So when they connect right to each other, so we have a 10 up here and everything with 2 extra fuse sets, so that way you can work with. At the same time in doing so, we got some extra relays as well too that it can sit here and use. So most of our harness and everything is going to come through here. Kill switch and everything off of this one. We went ahead and changed our battery connection around a bit, because we had to sit there and have our battery and battery cables and everything for our alternator, and a battery cable and everything for our starter. down here on the back side. I don't know if some of you saw it. We got a 150 amp breaker. I was told that this alternator is 145 amp. Some of you, most of you may know and everything that when you're running an alternator, you really don't want to run it at 100% capacity. You usually want to have it at about about 80% capacity. So 80% out of 145 is about 114, 115. So 120 amp fuse and everything would have been good. But in this case and everything, with the size of this motor and how he's going to be running it, he might use it up to that capacity. So we're just running a 150 amp breaker. We're not trying to sit there and kill anything, and we don't want the man and everything to have this thing trip 24/7, 365 and everything on the track. We want to try and keep everything as efficient as possible and everything without starting a fire. But then again, we do have a fire extinguisher that will be going in here pretty soon. I need to go back through the schematic and everything and figure out mounting location, because we actually have a roll cage to mount everything. Once again, everybody, this is the greatest thing in the entire world. I'm actually in a vehicle that has a roll cage. I'm doing work on a race car. So, all right, moving on. Got all our wiring come through here. The entire main harness and everything comes down through this center side and drops back on down through here. Left a little bit of excess. You don't want to have your wires too tight. You want to keep your wires and everything kind of loose. You don't want to have them too loose, though. The reason why we have this one loose is because of the design of the dashboard. Everything else and everything will come later, so we'll take care of that. Moving on over, we still got to sit there and get all of our lights and stuff labeled and everything for our fuses. Proper fuses per math and everything, per, you know, the wattage of your bulbs and how much current and everything's being sent through per whatever voltage, yada, yada, yada. Ohm's law, you guys can figure that stuff out and everything. But anyway, going back on through, so we have our indicators and everything for our flasher. Wipers are down low. Back up top and everything, we have our hots and everything, dude, for the other parts, including the brake light switch, which runs all the way back through here. We got that all taken care of. Thank you, Lexus Toyota FSM. And we have our headlights and our taillights. So we got that all wired up, running back to the back. After I went ahead and I took the taillight assembly apart, and I figured out that there was such an extremely low amount of wattage on the taillights. We went ahead and we had 3 sets of wires and everything coming in. So instead, we went ahead and we put 2 together and everything. We ran out to the front, up the fuse a little bit and everything, so we can do that and have less fuses. No issues. I think the highest fuse I have in here is a 10? Yep, no, 20. 20. Got 20 amp fuse, highest one I got. All right, and so we come back here. Customer went ahead and he labeled and everything his relays, so we just went ahead and we went off of it. I like it. Still have the autometer tack adapter we have to deal with. Bunch of self-tapping screws inside of the vehicle, quite dangerous and everything too, where somebody could get cut up. I was actually getting cut up and tore up and everything with quite a bit of stuff. That's why I had to keep stopping, so I decided to start taking stuff out. 3M adhesive and everything is your friend. And rivets are your friend, and installation and everything, and direction and everything, and location is actually proper. We still got to do something about the innovative converter box and everything that's right here, because as you can see, we got 2 self-tappers and everything here, and I actually can feel them slightly sticking out on the bottom. So what we'll do is we'll take that off and everything as well too, and I'll get some 3M to put underneath here. This actually is inline fuse and everything coming from. This thing's not going anywhere. I've got 2 strips of 3M on it, and it's not going anywhere. So we'll be doing the same and everything too for the tack adapter box, so that way we convert it for the tack signal and everything going to the gauge. That's also partly why we haven't finished all this up yet. You see all this wire. These 2 blue wires that are coming through here and everything, once again, these are for signal. This right here and everything's coming off of the coil pack harness to go into the tack adapter box, so that way it can convert the signal, because it's coil on plug, and go back over to the tachometer hole. Now, just got them all laid up over here, nothing to worry about. Some things we went ahead and we left that were originally here. We just cleaned everything up, transfer all your wires and everything. Split them in half if you got a bunch of wires in there that you're running. You want to sit there and have half go one way, half go the other way, if you can. Definitely. You always want to. You don't want to have too much and everything piled up, but as you can see here, we have a lot of pile up coming through here, but we don't have all of the harness coming in through one direction. We got the harness coming in this way. We got it coming back in through that way. Some of it coming out up here, but this is just the heaviest portion of it, because everything comes in right at where? The fuse and relay box location. So, coming back in, we have starting signal, ignition, fuel pump 1, random, because there's no more fuel pump 2 off of this switch. We'll get to that to the back in a bit, because I took care of it off of just as one switch and everything to feed extra power and everything to another relay mounted to the back. So come back up to the stop. Gav, it's actually a U, gauges. Okay, lights, fans, auxiliary power. This right here and everything is for the Lingenfelter box that he is using for his crankshaft position sensor signal. And then we have, I actually got to look up this company. I've seen it before. It has this fuse relay board with this data cable and this wonderful switch panel that they have up here. I mean, I love this thing. This thing is sweet. It lights up. It lights up green and everything when it's on, turns red and everything when it's off, and it's just push button. It's just push button. It works great. I love it. I gotta get it. So we'll have to work that in and everything with another project and everything at some point in time. Not one of my own, maybe for a customer and everything, but definitely probably for one of my own maybe later. So that is everything coming off of the top of the board. We went ahead and we changed our ground. Our ground actually was kind of small and everything. It was about 12 gauge. So I found this inside of his box and everything was an 8 gauge, but it was a red power wire. Went ahead and heat shrunk tube it and everything, and then I took some electrical tape, just wrapped it up so that way we can indicate it as black for our ground, which is no problem. Had some ground areas where he actually had it mounted before, which is where this breaker is now mounted for the alternator. And so I went ahead and found a better spot that was sitting right over here. Mind you, I still have to take this back off so that way I can sand the paint down so we can get metal to metal, good continuity contact. Took the rest of our harness. We had some wires and everything that were sticking out. I was kind of concerned about. Spoke to the customer the other day. He said, don't worry about them. They're useless. They're just there. So we're going to go ahead and tape up the ends, heat shrink the ends of exposed wires that don't get used, wrap them back up and everything into their own loom to the side, and label it so that way you know exactly what they are and you can get to them later. All right. And of course, our ECU. No worries there. Good stuff. I like it. I like it. I like it. We had a lot of our harness coming through this opening right here in the firewall. You know, that's perfectly fine. It's a little hard and everything to sit there and deal with like that, but this right here needs some kind of a cover plate and everything with some access holes and everything and wiring harness grommets to go along with it. Excuse the mess, everybody, for like all the wiring and stuff like that. I still have everything all laid up here. Went ahead and took care of all of his ignition wires, put them together and everything on their own wire so that we were running on one single. And then we got some, this right here is our signal wire and everything for our starter. We got red wires coming in here for a few other things. But innovative wideband control, we took care of that. Actually, it was ran through this hole that was opened up right here, which got some heavy jagged edges. And we don't want to have the harness and everything getting tore up and then you getting misreading and destroying your sensors and stuff like that. So plenty of plugs and everything still inside the floorboard, so you can take your plugs and you can drill a hole open into them, cut them open and everything with a razor blade so that way you can use them as grommets. This one and everything required us, of course, it's a wideband, so we had to do some de-pinning and everything and re-pinning in order to get it through this one. But now we're all good to go. All right, here onto the opening, coming out of the floorboard. We'll get it all mounted and strapped up. It'll follow the harness and everything just like that. And this will have its own spot and everything for it for mounting. Going back on through, this right here is our ground battery cable. Battery cables were ran through the shifter hole. And if you can see the shifter hole, you could see the jagged edge metal and everything that's right here. Like, I can't even run my finger on it and everything without the top layer of my calipers getting all tore up. Thank goodness for calipers. But it was ran over here and wrapped around across the edge. This is very, very sharp, actually, right here. Battery positive, battery ground were ran through here, down the side of the transmission, snugged up nice and tight, over the exhaust and everything, back through and everything straight to the engine. No. So we went ahead and changed that all up, found some other openings and everything for some other grommets. Came up here and everything from the top grommet. We got our top grommet and everything for our battery ground cable. And we got this one for right here. Now, last night, or yesterday, I had an even better idea. I looked up as we were working on some stuff, and I noticed an opening with 2 mounting holes. So I was actually able to make myself a wired loom cover plate. And so we went ahead and we made one, covered up one access hole and everything so we can keep our fumes out. And then we went ahead and strategically placed in everything where all of our battery cables and stuff go. So always remember, heavier wire, heavier cables and everything to the bottom, lighter wires and everything, lighter cables and everything all the way up on the top. Ran that all the way through for our access. Good there. Sorry about that, everyone. Getting stuck, getting snagged. Okay. Oh. Let's move on to the back. All right, so we got the rest of the harness, as everyone knows, came all the way through the back. Runs all the way down here. This is most of our lights and everything and all of our fuel pump wires and everything that are coming on through here. Battery cables stay separate, okay? Stay separate. Everything. Keep the cables down low. Heavy cable down low. Wire up top. All right, cool. Now, we had before and everything, the wires are actually ran down to the one side along with the hydro brake line. And we went ahead and took care of that as well too. We got our bends all cleaned up. Got it ran nice and clean straight on down the side of the transmission tunnel on its own side. Took care of the bends and everything, make it over the hump, make everything nice and clean and uniform. Follows on through right across the rest of the tunnel and everything back through its own access hole. Before, when I first got this vehicle, the wires and the brake line were going straight through that one hole. No. You're taking hydraulic fluid and you're taking power of electricity and you're putting them through together and everything in the same spot, and you're not giving anybody any room. Separate your openings, people. Separate your openings. Thank you. So, we've got extra grounding and everything to come along with it as well too. We've got ground straight down to chassis. Another ground and everything coming off the battery going straight down to the side of the engine block. Good old cast iron block. We have our positive right here. And then we also have another positive wire that's coming off that actually helps power the second relay to the back. You guys could see that fuse kind of peeking right there. We'll get to the back and everything in just a second. But just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea. Of course, this is our tack that we got to go ahead and wire in and mount. We'll take care of that stuff here a little bit later. What else we got in the box? We got a turbo heat blanket. And I believe the boost and vacuum gauge should be sitting right there at the bottom. Aqueous boost vacuum gauge. Yep, that's it. Okay, cool. Sweet to the sweets. We also have our, I think this is a Crow's safety harness and everything. I can't remember, but I went ahead and took it and bagged it up and stuff like that that's on here. I actually got to check the dates that are on it as well too. Keep in mind, everyone, dating of manufacturing of parts and seats and everything else count. They're only good and everything for 1 year to 2 years. So check your inspection dates and everything on your seats and your harnesses, because sometimes they have to go or they need to be sent back to the manufacturer to get recertified. Right. So we're going to come back over here to the front side. Actually, no, we're going to go back over here to the back side. No cheating. All right. Kind of try to get this propped up here and everything to show you guys. I did loom up some of this and everything kind of just to see what it looked like and everything nice and clean, but we haven't ran any electrical tape on it. One wrap of electrical tape on wire loom, and it doesn't have to be the entire thing completely covered and everything with a 1/4 inch overlay. I usually just do like a spiral opening and everything, and I'll give a 1/2 inch to a 1 inch gap and everything in between. It's just to sit there and keep it together, keep it taut, keep the wires and everything from touching anything. But really, per specification, you want to sit there and wrap one layer with a 1/4 inch overlay and everything, starting from front all the way down and everything to the back. All right, so we have our fuel cell with a Holley intake pump, and then we also have, I believe, an AEM maybe 1000 fuel pump for the external swirl pot. Everything's ran properly and everything for the lines, no leaks, and then our fuel sender. So come back here, take care of all of our lighting. All of our lighting works. Got our direct immediate grounds. I just put the zip tie right here onto this connector because it actually has a plastic clip that goes through an eyelid, but the clip and everything's missing half of it. Whatever, that's perfectly fine. The only wire that's on here on this connector that has not been wired up is for the reverse and indicator lights. Can be wired up, but we're not doing it like that. So feed all this right here. This is all of our wire. And let me get in here and kind of just give you guys a little look-see how we did this. With the wire colors that we already have, we had only a limited amount of supply. So blue and everything for our turn signals. White is light. Red, if anybody could guess, red is for brakes. Red means stop. I know and everything red right now, we're using that and everything is power, but and their wire color actually for stop and everything was red with a white stripe. That would mean and everything a lot more costliness and everything in wiring. So we went ahead, got that, got all of our tag lights wired up, did some tests and everything. We're good and everything on our voltages. We just have bad bulbs. So that part of the harness comes up through here with it as well too. Runs over to this side, splits, so we can get our power and everything from this side as well too. And then we have our 2 grounds and everything for our indicators and our markers. That's good. This one as well too. I had a zip tie, and this will show you what I was talking about. But this is how this all came. I mean, it's already broken, but it's all right. Nothing you can really do. Old, 96. Cage was already done. Not too happy with quite a bit of stuff and everything that was done to the cage, but we'll move on and everything from there. Got our loom sitting over here. Excuse the mess at the moment. Trying to get that all taken care of. This right here actually is some 1/2-inch loom and everything, man. It's got quite a bit of wire and everything built up into here, but that's also why we need the 3/4-inch loom and everything for this section, because it's got everything coming into it. Before we had some wires and everything that were going through this hole, looped back around, coming out and everything, very dangerous. You take insulation and everything through metal and stuff like that, it rubs onto the metal, tears the insulation off and everything, you hit the copper, you got metal contact and everything, grounding, and then you got electrical fire ready to happen. All right, so we got that. We've got our fuel pump wire and our fuel pump power and ground, and we also have our fuel level sender wiring coming through here as well too, only specifically for that. And then the secondary, this is the secondary external pump, since this one and everything was going to be another one that we needed to put onto the outside. Note the heat shrink on our connectors. You come back on through here. This is our outside external pump, so we went ahead and wired up this relay, only appropriate and everything for that one. The other fuel pump and everything relay is way down here, but at the same time it helps build power. But we also have our battery sitting right here and everything for a short distance and everything of power directly and everything to our pump. So great job and everything on braided lines, Earl's fittings. Everything was done real nice. I was happy with that. Nothing really too much to worry about. Nothing else is really going back here. Short distances on the cables, not tight. Got some slack and everything to them where it's got some motion. Good. That's kind of how you want it. You want to have like a little bit of motion and everything. Not too much. You don't want to have it too tight. But you want to keep everything from kind of moving around and everything, getting bebop. So took the brake line and everything that was also coming out here from the back and made some bends into it so that way we can make it a little bit more uniform and kind of get things out of the way. Ran the hydraulic lines underneath, ran the electrical and everything up top. Why? We don't want the line and everything putting pressure on top of the wire and tearing something up, and we want to try and keep the wires and everything away from as much of the heaviness as we possibly can. Drilled an extra hole, put a wiring harness grommet and everything inside of it, throw some electrical tape on it and everything so that way it has its slide between and everything inside, something to kind of rubberize and everything. And then we'll take the 3/4-inch loom and we'll loop about what is it, I think 3 feet right here. Yeah, 3 feet right here. I got a 10-foot spool and everything. I got more up to the front and everything that I got to take care of. But anyway, so we've got that. So this is our trunk wiring. All right, yeah. Right now at the moment we got the back end jacked up because we have some custom lower control arms that were actually made from a company over in Russia. He's already told me the name a couple of times. I'm gonna have to ask him again because once again I have forgotten because my brain is about fried with this car. And a whole lot of up down and everything on the vehicle when it came down to doing the battery cables and everything, you know, for the past few days. But name of the game, baby, keep going. So got that all taken care of. All right, got that. Mind you, the cable and everything is definitely loomed in its correct distance. I just have everything just kind of laid out right now and everything. I'm just having a long fight and everything with these battery cables. Good size and everything, ground cable, very good. I'm glad and everything he did that. About 4 gauge and everything though on the power wire and stuff like that going to the kill switch, and then, you know, 4 gauge going to the box, 4 gauge going to the starter, and 4 gauge and everything going to the breaker, 4 gauge going to the alternator. I went ahead and had to use some of my cable. That's what the red is for. Also, to the guys at DEI Performance, man, you guys are awesome when it comes down to your heat shrink tubing. This right here is DEI heat shrink tubing. It comes with the heat shrink. It comes with the heat loom kit for like spark plug wires and wire harnesses and hard lines and hoses and stuff like that. This stuff is literally like 1 inch in diameter, and I've heated up a piece of it and it shrunk almost all the way down to 1/4 of an inch on its own. That stuff is phenomenal. So I'm going to start using that and everything a lot more from now on. But for wiring and everything purposes, I like using the marine grade heat shrink tubing because it's a little bit more sturdy and everything than flimsy. Speaking of which, yep, all of our connectors, everything, heat shrink tube, heat shrink tube, heat shrink tube, heat shrink tube, heat shrink, heat shrink, heat shrink. When they tell you on the track to cover all copper, cover your connectors, there are reasons. because majority of these boards that are built and put together are on a piece of sheet metal or a piece of aluminum, something with conductivity. Do not forget heat shrink tubing your connectors and any exposed wire. Thank you. So, without further ado, we're going to come back on through here, through the top, kind of give you guys a little look-see from the other wires that we ran last night. Last night was a bit tiring. Some other things that I've been working on as well, too. Have postponed my vehicle for this one, which is good, because this actually, all the proceeds and everything of this goes straight to mine, so we'll get that all taken care of. Self-tapping screws. Let's not be so generous, everybody. They are very, very dangerous, and they can hurt you in the long run. Like I said, self-tappers and everything, you know, you have that blunt tip right at the end. So you put a self-tapping screw in and everything, man, and it's sticking outside and everything of an exposed metal area, and you forget completely about it. What happens? Let's say I got to pull this transmission, which actually I took a crap ton and everything of these out. So now there's no issues and everything with that. Nobody's going to get cut up, tore open, and sliced and everything and rushed to the emergency room. So yesterday we also found a few other things that were killing us. I have to take care of. I'll kind of give you guys a look-see and everything right here. I think it'll do it if I put some pressure on it. Right now we're leaking fuel and everything right out of the top seal and everything, and this Earl's fitting. Yep, there it goes. So luckily and everything, I looked inside of his box. He had an extra one sitting right here. More than likely a possible chance that was something that he was already going to do. I don't know why it's leaking and everything through there and it's not sealing, but usually just the seal and everything's probably just gone bad. So fitting's good, but the seal and everything through here and everything is not. So it's the same one. We'll just go ahead and just switch it out and everything and twist this back onto here. These actually came from Summit Racing, same place and everything where I got a lot of mine as well too. But of course, you know, you got Summit Jegs, Earls, Russells, and then some. All right, we got the raw fuel smell coming through here now. Okay, anyway, moving on. Let's get you guys some light. Oh yeah, there we go. That's much better now. Okay, so there's our DEI heat loom wrap. Not much of a choice where we had to go. Don't mind the opening and everything on this O2 sensor port that we have here for the other O2 sensor. I've got to actually take care of that sitting over there on my work table. The ground broke off of its weld on the side of the sensor housing, so I got to go ahead and put a tack on that. My TIG and everything isn't set up for it because that actually would be perfect. It's just a quick heat. The other one and everything, I'm gonna actually have to MIG and everything, but I'll get that sucker kind of hot and everything. We'll go from there. And actually, I got to look online to see what the max range and everything on temperature is. So we're gonna heat up the sensor a little bit where we're not gonna burn it up, and then go ahead and just do a quick tack down and everything and be done. All right, Lingenfelter box. Okay, went ahead and we adjusted where our wiring was on it. We did have some issues and everything where the customer was stating, you know, sometimes you got to tap the box and everything in order for it to work. Red means power, green means sync. So it definitely is getting power, definitely turns red. The only way you're going to detect and everything, if it's syncing and everything is under crank up and everything, it will flash. That means that it's getting its signal and everything that it needs. The power wire seemed like it was pinched. So that probably could have been why he was getting that bad connection and everything coming through it. So yeah. Okay, we got our two battery cables here and everything, one for the alternator, one for the starter. I have those wrapped together on purpose so that way it indicates and everything for positive. Some of this battery cable was black. Of course, most people like black for ground, which is perfectly fine. That's what color electrical tape and everything can be for, and you can do that. Down low, right about there, next to the pipe, is the ground cable that we were talking about. As long as you guys make sure to use the proper materials of what you got, things and everything will happen, no problem. Torque spec bolts, torque spec bolts, torque spec bolts, torque spec bolts. Everything was fastened and assembled. We have not finished up over here yet because we're not ready for it, because I don't have to pull this down pipe back off again. Took care of a ground and everything that was out here as well too, going down to the engine block. So we got plenty of grounding going off of this chassis. I love it. I like it. I want more of it. Now, take care of this oil catch can. Actually, I've got to do some adjustments on it at some point, because I'm not too happy with where it's located and how it's mounted. That's where all these self-tapping screws comes from. So I'm gonna move some of this out of the way, because I would like for you guys to kind of see what I made last night on this panel. We're not completely finished yet, but it's mainly there to just to get shit. Man, hang on. Mainly there to get the job done. Rounded our edges, sanded everything smooth, so nothing and everything's tearing up paint or nothing like that. And there's plenty of room for more wiring grommets and the harness on this plate. At least we got one mounted right here. Everything's properly done. So we got that. All of our wires are going up through the top. Starter signal wire, ground and everything for the Lincolnfelter box, power from the Lincolnfelter box, and our wires and everything for our tact signal conversion. Mind you, it's yellow coming through out of the harness. We went ahead and we just tap changed and everything down low and everything to come through here. This is actually going to be loomed up as well too once we go back in. All right. Moving on to the next spot. Look at that. Hunk of motor. Hunk of motor. One downside that I do have with a lay vehicle so far, and I've paid attention to this since the day I went over. I don't know if many of you can see this or probably might have a question to it. Note the height of the throttle body to the cowl, the crest of the cowl of the firewall. Quite high up. And I was a little concerned about it. Even when I got to about right here, I'm already losing the top of my strut tower. I haven't even gone all the way down yet. I haven't even squatted. So we're gonna take this vertically and we're just gonna keep coming down. Now, I'm at the top of the fenders. I'm lining up my fenders right now and I can still see the motor. So, and I know this swap and everything can go in where it's supposed to. The other thing to keep in mind people, is whenever you do a swap, your engine or your transmission and everything has to sit at a certain degree of an angle in 3 different directions. Side to side and everything, depending on its lean angle that it needs and everything for proper oiling. Okay, not all engines and everything sit straight up vertical. Everything has a slant or something like that, depending on everything on how the oil pump and the oil delivers and flows inside of the motor internally. This engine also, and you have your front to back and everything angle, which is an indicator and everything for your angle of your engine to transmission and your angle of your drive shaft and your pinion towards the back of the vehicle. When you're doing a swap, you really want to keep everything, the top and everything, anywhere from between 0 degrees and 3 degrees maximum. Once the vehicle finally got here, I took some measurements. The engine transmission and everything sits up at 6 degrees. That's a bit too much. Steep of an angle. You want to have your angle of your engine and transmission to match your angle of your pinion and your rear end. So that way you don't have a bind up and your U-joints and everything don't explode and your drive shaft and everything come apart. And if you don't have a drive shaft safety loop, like this vehicle doesn't have, where the drive shaft and everything will come through and could potentially kill you. Keep this stuff in mind, people, when it comes down to building a race car and putting something on the track, especially when drifting. I understand and everything to go out and go have fun. I understand and everything to get in it and everything, man, so that way you can make your way up to the top. But keep it in mind and everything, man. A little bit of safety goes a long way. And at the same time, they're not really going to let you on the track and everything without doing a proper tech inspection and everything if they don't have what you have on there, depending upon how much power you're pushing as well, too, and how the vehicle chassis is set up. Even if it's caged and fully raced out, your vehicle will be inspected. But perfect practice makes perfect, not practice making perfect. Quote unquote from one of my automotive instructors from years ago, Automotive Collision and Repair, Mr. Cook at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Good man. Taught at the Biloxi High School and everything as well too. Awesome mentor. So this is what we had to work with today. We did also, almost forgot too, our intercooler piping and everything right here on the hot side wasn't facing properly. I couldn't get it to line up, so I did have to reclock the turbo. Okay, Carlos, I wanted you to know that one and everything. I did have to reclock. Indicator on the paint mark and everything. Once again, I have refastened and loosened this housing and readjust everything in a completely different placement. Good man and everything on his oiling line for feed. Remember, a turbo is like an engine. It needs oil. Don't restrict it. And don't put too big of one either and everything in there also, because you can overdo the amount of oil and everything that goes inside of it. It needs to be able to drain. Feed and everything is under pressure. Drain is under gravity. So keep those in mind and everything as well too. These edges over here and everything, they were quite jagged as well too. Customer's going to like this a whole hell of a lot, or whoever and everything is going to be doing any tech crew for him as well too. I can rub my hand all over this and I am not getting sliced up, not one bit. This is how it should be. No fear and everything to put your hand inside of the bay. Now, with the dilemma of the engine and transmission mounting angle. This is per and everything the mounts on this vehicle. I don't want to say any names of any companies, but I will tell you whoever designed and everything the mounting bracket system for the swap mount of this engine into the chassis is the same person who improperly designed my transmission adapter kit. And also the same person that I found out that went through and, well, basically and everything took other ideas that were being developed overseas through a forum and tried to make everything one of his own and everything and call it his own, but still at the same time did not do anything proper. So I'm not sure and everything if this is the way it was supposed to be designed, but at the same time, keeping in mind and everything, if you know anything about doing race cars, if you know anything about doing engine swaps and builds, pinion angle and everything and engine to transmission angle is critical. So making the kit so that way you don't have to change the oil pan, because the majority of these oil pans on here are rear sump, not front sump, and this chassis actually requires a mid sump oil pan, which you can actually purchase and everything from SC6 manufacturing. They actually make a quite well quality and everything designed kit, and that I was quite pleased with and everything seeing. So now it is possible to make it work with the rear sump oil pan, although there's a section of the subframe that needs to be modified, and per the rule book and everything for FD, you really kind of can't modify the subframe too much. It really depends. I would have to contact them personally and see what they would allow. But other than that, without further ado, I think you guys are probably going to want to see a little bit of power up. We're not going to be able to start it right now because I have to wait on parts and everything to get here. Customers are working on some other vehicles right now at the moment. Stuff will get here and everything in due time, which is perfectly fine. And so from there, like I said, I did not want to do anything wire loom wise until I at least made this initial video. So we're going to get some stuff powered up, and we're going to show you guys and everything what everything can do off of the switch system. So our switches go in a row, starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. From left on the switch panel to right. So first things first, in order for this vehicle to work the way it does, I designed and set everything up just like in a normal vehicle. When you get into a vehicle before you turn the key, what happens? You can turn the lights on, but you can't turn anything else on. You can't even use turn signals, can't use your hazards, can't use anything. So same thing goes in everything with this vehicle. Cannot do the same. All right, first relay, ST, starting signal. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to go ahead and just kind of give it a bump so you can hear it. All right, it tries. Second switch, switch number 2. One, 2, ignition. All right, we're on. That's why I love this board. So clean indication. So we have power and everything coming off of our ignition. This helps power everything for our brake lights, turn signals, headlights, and tail lights. But the lights and everything has its own as well too. This just turns on the indication and everything for the relay. But once we turn the lights on, that's actually power fed to the lights. So off the kill switch and everything from there. I could show you guys the brake lights. I gotta test them. So what we're gonna do is walk this on back. See if we can get you to a nice spot so where you can actually see them. Get you all mounted, set, and propped up. there, we should have had our working brake lights. You guys should have got an idea on that one. Let's come back on through and everything, man. Let's try out these flashers. Oh. So, we got our brake lights working and everything right off the pedal. Now we're going to try our flasher signal. Remember, left is left, right is right. There we go. Left. Oh, we can already hear it flashing. And we've got our front indicator. And then we've got our rear indicator. Good job. All right. Work our way over to the other side. Off. Right turn signal. All right. Right turn signal marker is working. Left turn signal marker is working. Okay. Cut this one off. All right. Now we also have power and everything to our... I think we have power to the... Nope. I don't have power to that and everything right now. Not to the wipers. Oh, yeah, no. The wipers and everything, I got that set up and everything with the gauges. Fuel, we're not going to worry about fuel right now. We're going to skip fuel. We're going to work on over to our gauges. We got our gauges and everything, power for our lights, our indicators and stuff like that. Everything's all turned on. But now, with that, we can use our wipers. So, turn the wipers down low. Give you guys a look-see. Okay. Now we'll do some high wiper. Voltage, temperatures, everything's working great. We're not hurting anything. And now we move on to gauges. We go to our lights. Lights is right here. Lights should be on. Ladies and gentlemen, we have headlights. Back here, I have our amazing brake lights and everything. I don't know many of you can see them and everything, but it's the light and everything indicators that are up here on top. Tag lights do work. Put a test light to it and everything, man. They do work. The bulbs and everything were just bad. No corroded connections or anything like that. Just bad bulbs. Normal. Things happen. Now, turn that off. And our fans. This is one of the biggest things that I was so proud of because these fans are so strong. So strong. Even this one down low right here. We'll do a test to kind of give you guys an idea. Piece of plastic. And come up here and everything on the side with the radiator too. Piece of plastic. Stuck. Never coming out. And even better too, this will also help with keeping that hose, that lower radiator hose in front of there nice and cool. Very, very strong fans. Good and cool. It scared my neighbor and everything when he came down to come take a look at it. He come over to the side and I turned the fan on and blew right past his legs. All right, we'll turn that off. We got everything else on, switching everything down here on the end, specifically for the Lingenfelter box and everything for timing, which is good. At the moment, if anybody could see, we have the breaker off to the alternator because we're not starting anything right now, but that's fine. So, alrighty. Last outstanding piece of the puzzle here are these beautifully CNC machined and everything lower control arms. Good Lord, I'm so glad and everything, man. I'm certified machinist fabricator. I cannot wait to start machining. I cannot wait. These are a thing of beauty. A thing of beauty. You know. What can you do, though? So, all right. Thank you guys and everything today. You've all been great. I know I didn't pick up any viewers and everything at the moment, but follow me and everything on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and make a URL post to give everybody a quick link and everything to this video if you'd like to take a look at it. And we're going to get a little bit further in depth. We've got a few other things that need to be taken care of. Customer's going to be coming today, so hopefully we can get his seat mounted and everything in position to where he needs. That way I can go ahead and mount his harness. A passenger seat and everything probably also needs to go ahead and be installed, but then again, there's a lot of things that are also going into this right now at the moment, so with add-ons and everything, got to play a bit of money catch up. So we'll take care of that and everything next, and then we'll go from there. All right, this is Mish with Mish Motorsports, as everybody knows. Y'all have a good one. Catch you next time.